In this video I'll be going for the Nikon D3400 thanks to my local camera shop, Cameracraft in Rockford, Illinois. Definitely check them out if you're in the area. Great camera shop. So the D3400 is Nikon's cheapest DSLR in their lineup. You buy them new. As of this video it's about $500 with a lens. In that case, this lens here that they revised has a little button on it that you press to extend it. It is definitely smaller than the previous version. It has a different motor inside too, which is better in video situations. But this camera and most Nikons in live view are not great in video focusing, so just keep that in mind. The camera does have a decent amount of buttons for this range of camera. There's a function button and of course a button for flash. This camera does have a flash, pretty standard for a consumer level DSLR. So with this new lens, you just press that button to close it up and then it locks down, so it won't accidentally extend on you. That's a pretty nice feature. Just adds a little bit of extra time you have to take to extend it or close it back down. Visual look of this camera, especially the red version, is really nice. It is a small camera, of course, nice and compact. Pretty nice in the hand for this level of camera. Of course, it is missing a front dial to control settings. They really don't like to put that dial in their cheaper cameras for whatever reason. It does have an aps-c sensor, which is probably the biggest plus of this camera for the price and everything considered. And it does not have an autofocus motor in this version, or in any 3000 series cameras. You won't get that motor inside. So the ports, you've got the HDMI and USB. They actually took out the mic port from the previous version of this series of camera, which is too bad. So the camera in the hand is pretty nice for what it is. It is smaller. Of course, my hands are relatively large, but it feels pretty decent for, a consumer level camera. Autofocus seems quick enough for me, at least in that kind of dark situation. It did work out pretty well. I didn't do a ton of practice or testing with this camera, of course, but overall I've used a few of these 3000 series and it seemed pretty much equivalent, so I don't think they've changed the autofocus system. Of course, it has that big dial on the top. A lot of consumer level modes. You have ones for macro, ones for specific scenes, and then you have the standard manual aperture program and shutter speed. You do have that AEL, AFL button, which is nice. At least they included that in this level of camera. The viewfinder is, it's of this level of cameras, so just keep that in mind. And live view, of course, is in there. You got the video settings, which are pretty standard and actually relatively decent, 1080p at 60 frames a second. And then it does have a dedicated recording button, which is nice for the video. This is definitely not a camera if you want to do a lot of video, but it is in there. It's acceptable. And of course the SD card slot, just one slot, no surprise there. So pretty easy to take the card out and put it back in. The battery, which is a surprising and nice improvement here, is they estimate at 1,200 shots per battery, which is great for this smaller battery. It's an actually slightly revised version of the EL14, so it's the 14A. I'm not sure what the A means or does, but they definitely improved the battery life even over their previous version of that camera. Not a bad camera. There are a ton of options out there, so I would find it hard to suggest buying this camera over something else unless you just like the feel of it rather than anything else. Of course, Canon has their T6, which is probably about equivalent. You want to look at the specs and see if there's something that really hits on you. This camera does have Bluetooth, but it does not have Wi-Fi, so transfers are slow, and also you can only send a 2 megapixel file to your phone, which is oddly limiting, but do keep in mind that it is at least in there. A lot of the competing cameras have better solutions in that case. Like I said, the Canon T6 has better stuff in some situations, and then even a lot of mirrorless cameras. The Panasonic G7 is there, about the same level, Sony A5100, and the Fujifilm X-A10. So all of the menu settings, pretty standard. They have very similar menus throughout their range of camera, which is good if you're used to the Nikon menu system. This camera does not have high-speed syncs in it. That is a drawback. It does not have the autofocus motor inside, so all of the old lenses, in case you have any, won't focus. Keep all of that in mind if you are looking for this type of camera. chances are, if you want this camera, you do not have older glass. But it has a nice little aesthetic to it, especially the red version. Super shiny paint coat to it. I like it in that case. I think Nikon definitely needs to revise it to the level that it competes with those newer mirrorless cameras. If I were to suggest this camera, I would suggest it just based on it feels pretty good in the hand and it will be reliable for you. So autofocus is an old system, but it's reliable. And if you are focused on just having the thing work, this is probably a decent option. But like I said, there are a lot of options in this price range out there, and you want to check to see if there are specific features that this one doesn't have that the other ones have and you want. If it doesn't, I mean, it's an option, so definitely check it out if you can get it at a good price. So that was the Nikon D3400. Hope you found this interesting. I'm Scott from Photography Bonsai. Thanks.